CEO Liana Levitan is in the audience. Thank you, Liana. I got to tell you, thank you. I got to tell you, I've had the pleasure of serving on the ARC Board of Directors with Liana over the last several years, and she always tells me and then brags about Chamblee in front of the entire ARC Board of Directors. So we're glad you're here tonight. Thank you very much for being here. So with that, we will get on with the meeting. If I can find the rules of order that I'm supposed to read here. Found them. All right. The first part of the agenda tonight is public hearings, and so I will read the rules of order for public hearing zoning matters, City Code Section 280-2. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request that the parcels of property which are the subject of the zoning proposal be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone and give their name and address to the city clerk. Do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. So, with that, I will call to order the public hearing. We have two items under the public hearing this evening. The first is PZ 2020-648, which is 3723 and 3731 Chamblee Dunwoody Road. It is a medical office. And do we have the development department?
Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, hey, we got somebody. I didn't even bother to look up and see that Matt's not here. So, is Matt chiming in virtually?
He
Yes,
is.
sir.
Woohoo! Modern technology. Let me tell you what.
All right, Mayor and Council, yes, this is a variance for 3723 and 3731 Chamblee Dunwoody Road. Now, if you could advance to the next slide. In this case, the applicant is requesting one variance on a property that's zoned NC1 Neighborhood Commercial 1 District. This parcel is approximately half acre, and the applicant is proposing to construct a 2-story medical office building. This variance is from section 230-1B. This section of the code requires a 40-foot zoning buffer where non-single family residential property abuts single family residential. And in this case, the applicant is requesting to reduce that to 20 feet. This is currently 2 lots with 2 existing single-family homes that the applicant is purchasing and demolishing, and will combine the 2 parcels to construct one 2-story medical office building that's about 8,200 square feet. If you recall, the streetscape was installed recently by the city. However, any elements that need to be updated to meet the full intent of the streetscape regulations will be constructed by the applicant. Next slide. Here's the aerial photo. You can see this property is located kind of catty corner diagonally across from the Chamblee Charter High School and is currently occupied by 2 single-family structures, but is zoned NC1 Neighborhood Commercial. Next slide. Here's the existing survey you can see with the 2 parcels. Next slide. And then the proposed site plan. The applicant's proposing to construct a surface parking lot and then building the building up in the front, so they do not require any variances from the site design standards. The only variance is for the zoning buffer. You can see in the back they are planting to zoning buffer standards, and they've also proposed a fence to screen the area from the adjacent single-family residential parcels. Next slide. Here's some photos. You can see the existing properties. Next slide. And then finally, staff does recommend approval of the variance with conditions. We are recommending that the proposed 6-foot fence be extended to 8 foot because that is permitted by code, just to provide additional screening, block any potential of any headlights from vehicles protruding into the rear of the property. And then also that they make efforts to save as many of the existing trees as possible, but then would have to plant that buffer to meet the city's full buffer standards. And that is all I have.
Great, thanks, Matt. All right, so we'll move on to the public hearing portion of this. As I read earlier, those wishing to favor can come up and speak first. We'll have 10 minutes for each section. Anyone wishing to speak in favor, please come to the microphone at this point and give the city clerk your name, address, and how you are or are not related to the project. Yep, maybe we need to help them turn it on there.
Hello?
There you go. Woohoo!
Okay.
Dude.
Thank you all. I'm the owner who's purchasing the property in question here. We're basically requesting a 20 feet instead of the 40 feet buffer variance. So we're very open to take any questions from anyone.
Okay, thank you very much. And so as I should have pointed out earlier, and I apologize, this is very unorthodox, but again, I refer to COVID rules. Usually what we do during these meetings is we'll have the public hearing, and then if you'll notice on your agenda, if you have a copy of the agenda, it will come up later on the agenda under development department. However, in order to keep people moving through, what we've been doing during this period is having that portion of the meeting at this point. What I'll do is ask if anybody else is wishing to speak in favor can come up, and then I'll ask if any, when wishing to speak in opposition would care to come up, and at that point, I will ask the council if they have any questions.
Okay, I'm in favor, so.
Yeah, good, we got that. That was great. Is there anyone else wishing to come up and speak in favor of the project? Is there anyone wishing to come up and speak in opposition? All right, then at this point, we'll go forward with what would normally come up under the work session part of the agenda, and I'll ask the council if they have any questions of the staff and or the applicant.
I've got
Darren.
Some concerns about the egress and just the proximity to the townhome driveways. Just curious as to why you put it on that side, or how you guys plan to mitigate some of
If
the
you
potential
could,
risk
sir,
with
come
that.
back up to the microphone so the question has to do with the ingress egress there and its proximity to the townhomes that are near or adjoining the property.
Can we get the visual on the screen by any chance of the area? Is it an option?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Okay. So what's the question? Your concern is the egress and egress for
So,
the townhome community next door?
So I'm concerned with the driveways being adjacent and the volume of traffic coming in and out of both of those buildings, and the potential for accidents there. It seems like it might be a little bit safer on the opposite side, but I'm sure you guys gave some consideration to that as well in designing the site. So just wanted to ask you to address that, or if
So you're recommending maybe we do the driveway on the other side closer to the townhome as opposed to here because there's a gap and there's traffic there and traffic here?
correct, or why you put it on that side? If you've looked at the traffic and potential accident impacts there.
Yeah, we didn't take into consideration has to, we did the usual traffic counts and everything, and we really felt it was very safe to keep it very close to the building, so people would come in and out. We did not take into consideration the total traffic from the townhome and from our development. Again, this is a doctor's office, and the other one is more residential, so they're kind of a different stuff. So it's always better for us that people are entering into the building and then making their way into the parking, ideally, as opposed to coming into the parking and then, coming towards the building just from a visual in and out. That's the only reason. Unless, again, we don't see anything the other way. The only advantage this would be is it would be a easier turn this way, versus then some people who are coming for the townhome, they would be confused whether they would be going into if you put it on the other side, whether they would be going into that one or the townhome one, because there's going to be two driveways next to each other.
There's two driveways next to each other in your proposal. That's why I'm asking.
There is two driveways? No, I thought there was.
Do we have a site plan that we can
Yeah.
pull up?
It's up on, well,
No, it's not.
it was for a minute.
There we go. That's what we need to see, thank you.
So unless I'm wrong, the townhomes are on that parcel to the north of you, and their driveway is adjacent to your landscape strip.
Yeah. Okay, so I get the question. I think you're saying, so there's only one. The only reason for us is because of the parking, which of course translates into, we wanted to make sure there's enough parking for us and everything for the building site. And if we do it on the other side, we're going to lose parking and stuff, which is just not going to make the project feasible for us.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there other questions?
I have a couple of questions. The front right-hand corner of the proposed building, what's the distance between that and the property line?
This one?
This one.
Yep.
Less than 3 feet.
It's less than 3 feet.
I'm sorry, 3 feet?
Yeah, less than 3 feet. About 3 feet.
Matt, are you on?
Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Is there a second?
Leslie, what's your question for Matt?
Well, is that acceptable? I mean, I thought there was a greater building setback from the side lot line than that.
If you look at the box on the right side, according to the zoning needs, the setback is, there's no need for a setback.
Yeah, I can answer that. So for commercial, in our commercial districts, there's not a side yard setback. They'll have to meet, and any time, and the reason for that is a lot of times, in most commercial buildings are going to be rated for fire safety, so there's not as much concern with, and you know, if it's a residential property, we always want to make sure there's at least 5 feet, so then you have a 10-foot fire separation. But commercial structures are designed and constructed in a way that they can be right up against each other, like you would see in a downtown kind of treatment. So there is no required side yard setback.
Great.
Okay, I do have another question, and I wish that Emmy was here, but she's not, and I guess this question is for you, Matt, or possibly Al. Did we get any feedback from the surrounding neighborhood on this project?
Can you answer that one, Matt?
I've not heard anything. Emmy would have gotten emails, and she would typically send those out before the meeting, so I'm not aware of anyone, and no one reached out to our office to ask questions about it. And I don't know if someone's, and actually I guess no one was there tonight either, but yeah, I've not heard any feedback. Of course, we send out the letters and post the sign, so they would have found out about it that way, but we've not heard anything.
Very
Okay.
good. Other questions? All right, did anybody else have another question? Great, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And the council will take this up on Tuesday evening, is when they'll vote on this.
Understood. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, the next item under public hearing, we have PZ 2020-653, which is also 4906 Peachtree Boulevard, also known as Zaxby's. It's a drive-through variance.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This is also a single variance request. We can go to the next slide. This is a request for a variance on the Zaxby's property, which, as stated by the mayor, is at 4906 Peachtree Boulevard. Currently zoned CC and is about 1 acre in size. This is a grandfather non-conforming use of a drive-through facility on a storefront street. However, it was constructed prior to that designation. They're able to continue with their current use, similar to what you saw with the Chick-fil-A previously. This is similar. Here, they're not proposing to tear down and rebuild the structure. They're just requesting to add a second driveway, which would be considered an expansion of non-conforming use. And together here for you with the variance request this evening. Next slide. You'll see here the variance is from section 23029, and that is the limitation that does not allow drive-throughs on storefront streets. Next slide. The applicant, as I mentioned, is only proposing to make changes to the site related to the drive-through. They're not proposing any changes, additions, or renovations to the building at this point. There is some reconfiguration of drive lanes and curbs and removal of 4 parking spaces that are proposed to accommodate this change. However, none of those changes trigger any variances. They still are meeting the minimum parking requirements for the site. Next slide. Here's the aerial showing the existing configuration. Next slide. And then this is the site map showing how the current 1-lane drive-through currently functions. Next slide. And then the proposed configuration, you can see where they're adding the split to have the double drive-through. There's some proposed additional menu signage, directional signage that will be reviewed as part of the permitting process and will have to meet current code. The ingress and egress points are not changing. They're also changing where their loading space was previously located. They've moved that to a different location, but no other changes proposed at this time. Next slide. Here's photos, again showing the existing configuration. Next slide. And then finally, staff does recommend approval of this request and with just the standard recommendation that they build in conformance with the submitted documents. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Matt. All right, at this point, we'll ask anyone who's wishing to speak in favor, please come up to the microphone, identify yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Scott Peters, professional address 1100 Peachtree Street in Atlanta. With me this evening is Mr. Dustin Mullis, is the owner and operator of this facility. As stated, this is an existing drive-through restaurant. The request is simply to modify the ordering process to create 2 ordering facilities. The building will not change, the site will not change from perspective of any improvements other than the adding of the second menu board, which will be in the rear of the building. What this is doing is minimizing wait times, where this is kind of the new standard in most drive-throughs, is a double ordering going down to a single food delivery window. It reduces wait times, reduces traffic congestion on the site, and as we all are aware, given the current circumstances with our masks and everything else, most people are hesitant to go inside, which has resulted in increased demand for drive-through facilities, and this is just addressing that need, which probably existed before this crisis, but has been kind of brought to the forefront by it. And if there's a couple slides that I have, I don't know if they can be displayed, but basically all we're doing is modifying the curbing slightly to facilitate the new traffic lanes, the added traffic lane. We are losing 4 parking spaces to do this. However, the site still meets city code. We are not going below city code requirements. And in short, it is just a request consistent with others, I think, in the city along here to continue the use of an existing legal non-conforming use and to upgrade it to current standards.
Great, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the variance request? Very good. Does the council have any questions for the applicant or the staff? Very good. All right. Would anyone care to move on to the regular meeting?
Motion to exit public hearing.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second to exit the public hearings. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Yes. All right. We have red and green because, that's how we do things here in the COVID world. But anyway, so that will conclude the public hearings. We will then move on with the work session agenda for this evening, September 11th. I just called to order the work session. Just love banging that gavel. Announcements and presentations. We have staff recognition for core value innovation. Al, I guess I'll let you tee this up for us, bud.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I think we would all agree that we have the best employees on the planet, but tonight we would like to recognize a few of our employees who have performed exceptionally well. Speaking of performing exceptionally well, we have one staff member that's not
Thank you all for being
because
here.
We ran a little bit too efficiently tonight, and so he should be arriving any minute, Mr. Benny
Okay,
Recliner.
well, if you would like to, Al, we can just kind of reorient and come back to this at some point and keep
would be
moving
great.
forward. Why don't we do that?
That would be
Okay.
great if we can
So
do
without objection from the council, we'll reorient the agenda at this point. And then I believe Tuesday evening, as it says on the agenda, we will have a Chamblee 101 recognition and the Certified Law Enforcement Agency Award. So for right now and until Al gives me the high sign with either a red or green paddle, or maybe he's got some sort of a, I don't know, wink and a nod he can throw this way, he'll let me know. But we'll move forward. Staff action items for city clerk. We have the approval of the minutes for the city council public hearing and work session August 13th. Any discussion? The city council regular meeting August 18th. And the city council called meeting August 31st. Is there any discussion? No? Very good. All right, so Al, we're going to leave it to you to tee up these next items for us. The first being the City Hall Design Service Contract Amendment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is consideration of an amendment to provide contract construction design documents to renovate the existing City Hall and to construct a theater for the cost of $210,000.
Okay, very good. And John wished he could be here. Obviously, we all know he can't. But John and I have had several conversations, as has several of the staff. You all know we've been updated from GMC on the building of the City Hall. And we're still on target for $8 million for that. And we've also allocated another $4 million for site work, which includes the construction of the plaza area, which is in conjunction with our private partner kind of across the street, and the demolition of this building. Woohoo! I get to drive the forklift. No, it wouldn't be a forklift. What would it be? A front loader. Whatever it is. Just give me a sledgehammer. I'll
You
take
get
the
to
whole-
ride the wrecking ball.
Yeah, yeah. Like Miley Cyrus. Yeah, see, I knew right where you were going with that, Karen. It is, you know, Karen and I think way too much alike, yeah. No, I'd rather not do that because y'all don't want to see me in that way. We should, John said you should have some better numbers on the site work by the time we meet on the 21st, when we can discuss some of this evening if you like, but obviously we've got a lot of moving parts as it relates to our budget, CARES Act, what we're planning to do with some monies from there, as well as budgeting for other capital improvements moving forward. I believe that we all think that the City Hall Design Services contract amendment is extremely important, but my suggestion would be at this point that we look at moving forward with this until we have a larger budget discussion on the 21st.
If you need a motion, I'd make a motion to move this to the budget session on the 21st.
Second?
Very good. So we got a motion second to move to the budget session on the 21st. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate you, bud. All right, and Leslie with your second, and everybody else with your green paddles. All right, so I just love it when things get moved forward. We have a presentation of the 2019 audit. That ought to be interesting. No, I'm just kidding. It would suck if it were interesting.
Yes, sir, Mayor. Tonight we have our auditing firm, Malden & Jenkins, to present the results of our 2019 audit.
Very cool, man.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thanks for having me here today to present the city's audit results for the December 31st, 2019 CAFR. Hopefully you had a chance to kind of look at the CAFR and the auditor's discussion and analysis in the management letter. But as far as the presentation today, I'm just going to kind of touch on some of the highlights in the PowerPoint. So if you have any questions as I'm going through, stop and ask, or you can wait towards the end and I'll address those questions then. All right, if you can move to slide number 2. Page 2. So just an update about our governmental practice. We continue to be one of the largest niches in the firm, representing about 28%. And then also we served about 500 governments in the southeastern part of the United States. That includes about 115 cities, as well as over 100 of those clients received the GFOA Award in Excellence in Financial Reporting, which includes the city of Chamblee as well. Page 3, just as far as the engagement team leaders, again, my name is Doug Moses. I was the engagement partner responsible for the overall audit engagement with 21 years of experience. This year I had a different partner to do the quality assurance review, Meredith Lipson. She has 29 years of experience. And then Josh Carroll was the director or manager who has about 13 years of experience, and all of us spend 100% of our time doing governmental audits. And then down below are just other industries that we provide services to and other services that we provide other than your traditional accounting and tax services. We have a governmental advisory practice now led by David Roberts, as well as an IT cybersecurity practice as well that's led by Jameson Miller. Page 4, the financial statements are the responsibility of the mayor, council, and management. Our responsibility as your external and independent auditor is to give an opinion on those financial statements. And we've issued an unmodified opinion or a clean opinion, which is what you will hope to get from the external and independent audit. The audit report date was as of August 24th, which is after the due date of June 30th as far as your deadline. But with the shelter in place and COVID-19, the state did an automatic extension through 9/30, and so you did meet that deadline, the extended deadline of 9/30 as far as submitting your CAFR to the Department of Audits. This CAFR for 2019 is CAFR number 6, so congratulations on, again, submitting your CAFR to GFOA, which your 2018 you got that award, and pretty sure you get the award again for 2019. Moving on to page 6. As far as our relationship, next slide. As far as our relationship with management, we received full cooperation from the city management staff and others. There were no disagreements with management on accounting issues or financial reporting matters. We did propose several audit adjustments, which have been provided to the city. Those adjustments are reflected in your general ledger and CAFR, and some did result in a couple of findings, and we'll talk about that a little later. There were no past audit adjustments, meaning that anything came to our attention, we went ahead and proposed those adjustments, and those adjustments are reflected in your general ledger as well as in your CAFR. Page 7, the main thing here I want to point out is that we are independent of the city and its financial reporting process in accordance with AICPA professional standards. There were no fees paid to Marlin & Jenkins for any type of management advisory services, which would have impacted our independence as your auditors. All right, next slide. Here's a few financial trends here. This is looking at your government-wide net position over the last 5 years. And so again, this is looking at governmental activities, which includes your general fund, your special revenue funds, your capital projects funds on a full accrual basis with long-term debt and capital assets reported. And then also your net position for your business type activities, which includes your stormwater, sanitation, and criminal history fund. So you can see for your governmental activities, net position has grown tremendously compared to 2015 when it was around $22 million, and you went up to about $41.8 million in 2018, and then you had about a $3.5 million increase in 2019, bringing it to about $45.3 million. Pretty good. And then your net position for your business type activities has pretty much remained kind of flat over the last 5 years. 2018, it was like $6 million. You had about a $389,000 decrease, bringing it to about $5.6 million in 2019. All of your categories within net position for governmental activities and business type activities are positive. Positive balances for your investment in capital assets, net of related debt, positive balances for your restricted net position, and positive balances for unrestricted net position. And a lot of governments can't say that. A lot of governments have a deficit in unrestricted net position. You all, for your governmental activities, have a $13.6 million unrestricted net position, which is really good. And then you have about $3.2 million of unrestricted net position for business type activities, which means that those balances are available to meet the city's ongoing obligations to its citizens and creditors. So your financial position has improved over the prior years. Page 9. Looking at your fund balance for your general fund and then your other governmental funds over the last 5 years. Again, your general fund is your main operating fund of the city. It was about $8.7 million in 2015. Went up to about $15.8 million in 2018, and you had a small decrease in fund balance, a little less than $100,000, bringing it to about $15.7 million in 2019. So still really pretty strong for a city your size. And then your other governmental funds, you can see had a tremendous increase over the prior year of 2018 at $4.6 million up to about $28.7 million. And the main reason for that increase is due to the newly created Urban Redevelopment Agency Fund, which is reported as a blended component unit fund within your financial reporting entity. And so basically you all issued about $24.5 million of bonds. So that's shown as other financing sources. And that you ended up with a ending fund balance of about $22.1 million for that new agency fund. And so that's the main reason for that large increase in other governmental funds fund balance. Slide 10 is looking at your general funds fund balance as a percentage of total expenditures. So a good rule of thumb is to have anywhere from 2 to 3 months reserve, or it's anywhere from 16 to 25%. But for December 31st, governments, you want to have a higher reserve, because most governments with a December 31st year end are sitting pretty healthy at December 31st, because you've collected the majority of your property taxes by then, which will be used for the next calendar year. And so you all were sitting at about 7.3 months of reserves, or 61%, at the end of December 31st of 2019, which is really good. It's where you want to be to weather the storm, which, no one knew that, we'll be in a recession, a health recession with the pandemic like it is. Had your reserves been much lower, you all probably would have to have issued a tax anticipation note to get you through those months when your revenues were down as far as sales taxes and things of that nature, if your fund balance reserves was much lower. So again, pretty healthy over the last 5 years. You're where you need to be to continue keeping that healthy fund balance. All right. Next couple of pages is talking about the management points and the findings. We did have 3 management points. This first one deals with information technology and cybersecurity. We had the city to complete a questionnaire on cybersecurity risk, and noted that the city is lacking some of the elements of a cybersecurity framework or a cybersecurity risk management program. And so we just recommend that you all investigate and consider implementation of a cybersecurity risk management program, which covers cybersecurity risk assessment, use of strong passwords, audit security measures, and monitoring and testing controls in place. Like I alluded to earlier, we do have a practice that's led by Jameson Robinson, Jameson Miller, who does IT audits, cybersecurity assessments and audits, where he would come in and do penetration tests just to make sure your system is where it needs to be in this day and age, where you have hackers coming in and holding governments at ransom, as you've heard in recent news in the past. The second management point deals with journal entry approval. We looked at 25 manual journal entries and noticed that the person approving the journal entries did it after the fact, and they couldn't provide documentation that the journal entries were approved. And so there was a lack of documentation or audit trail of persons signing off on those journal entries prior to them being posted to the general ledger. So again, we recommend that you have someone prepare the journal entries, send those journal entries to another appropriate person to approve those journal entries before they're entered into the system. And then page 12, the last management point is on improper reconciling items. For your Georgia Fund 1 bank reconciliation, we noticed that the city had included as reconciling items bank charges as well as interest earned on the account. And clearly those were not reconciling items because they were already reflected on the bank statement at year end. And so just recommend that you only include reconciling items such as deposits and transits and outstanding checks at year end on a monthly basis. And it was a small difference as far as these amounts, so it didn't warrant a finding. So just a recommendation for improvement on this particular reconciliation. Page 13, we did have 2 findings that were considered to be material weaknesses due to the dollar amount of the entry. The first one deals with year-end financial closeout and reporting controls. We did have to make over about several journal entries that totaled about $885,000 that we had to correct in various funds, as well as at the government-wide level for your capital assets. And so we just recommend that you tighten up those controls at year end to ensure that these balances are reported correctly. And then the second finding deals with adjustments of that totaled about $830,000 that we made across various funds to correct the receivable and revenue balances accounts payables and expenditures and expenses balances and deferred revenue as well. So again, just make sure that we're reconciling accounts, that we're looking at your subsidiary ledgers and reconciling back to the general ledger on the monthly basis to ensure that these balances are recorded correctly throughout the year as well as at year end. All right, as far as the new GASB pronouncements, you did implement GASB 88 this year that dealt with certain disclosures related to debt. This basically enhanced your footnote disclosures pertaining to debt. It didn't change any amounts in the financial statements as far as how things are presented in the face of the financial, on the face of the financial statements, but it did enhance the footnote disclosures, basically grouping your debt items between direct borrowings, which are loan agreements with a lender, and direct placements, which are debt securities with an investor. And so you'll see that particular terminology in your footnotes if you're looking at your debt section. Page 15. So these are new GASB pronouncements for future years. You know, when I started with the firm back in '99, we were at GASB 34. Now we're at GASB 96. 96 is not on here because they just issued that one a couple of months ago. But we're at GASB 96. So it's amazing how many standards have been issued in a time frame of about 21 years. Just to let you all know, Joel Black was a governmental partner at the firm for several years out of our Atlanta office. He is now the new chairperson of GASB, the Government Accounting Standards Board that sets all of the accounting standards for federal, state, and local governments to follow. So we're very sad to see him leave the firm, but very happy about the opportunity for him to serve as the chairperson of GASB for the next 7 years. And so it just speaks volumes of Martin Jenkins for having a person to who was with us as a partner now to be the chairperson of GASB, and then also we've had a partner that served as the chairperson of the AICPA as well. And so very proud of Joel and others who have served in that capacity. Hopefully he can slow down the number of standards that are being issued, but like he told me, he's only one board member sitting on the board, so hopefully they won't issue too many more. Just real quick, GASB Statement 87 deals with leases, and basically a lot of governments are going to see a lot of the operating leases or leases that were reported as operating leases in the past be reported as capital leases going forward when you implement this standard. So you'll be recognizing the asset and the liability pertaining to those leases. And so this is applicable for 2020, but GASB came out with statement number 95 that postponed the implementation of a lot of these standards due to COVID-19. So there's an 18-month extension on implementing this particular standard. So it'll be applicable probably for you all in 2022, I believe. The next one I want to talk about is GASB statement number 91 dealing with conduit debt obligations. Your DDA has issued on behalf of others about $30 million of conduit debt that's reflected in your footnotes as a disclosure. You don't report that as a liability, but you do have to disclose it in your footnotes. Under the current standards, if you have difficulties in reaching out to others, these third parties to figure out what the outstanding balance is to disclosing your footnotes, then under the current standard, you can just report or disclose what the issuance amount was. Under this new standard, you no longer can do that. You have to disclose what the outstanding balance is as of year end. If you look in your CAFR, you'll see that we were unable to get what the outstanding balance was at year end, and so we just disclosed what the issuance amount is. So for this standard going forward, you have to obtain that information and disclose what the outstanding balance is at year end. And then not on here is GASB statement number 96, which deals with subscription-based information technology arrangements. So this standard is going to be applicable for you all in fiscal year 2022, but it will allow you to capitalize cloud-based subscriptions. In the past, currently you can't capitalize it, you just show it as an operating type lease, but you will be able to, in the future, to record this as an intangible asset, a right-to-use asset in your financial statement. So you'll recognize the asset and the related liability going forward. So this is going to be huge for a lot of the larger government, especially like the larger school districts who spend millions of dollars in these cloud-based subscriptions. Now they'll be able to use SPOS money to pay for the cost of these cloud-based subscriptions. Next slide, we continue to offer continuing free education to our classes, to our clients. We hold probably about 4 classes each year where you can earn about 28 hours of CPE credit. And so your staff have participated in those classes, and if anyone wants to be included on the invite, just let me know. But we try to cover relevant topics throughout the year for our clients, as well as send out periodic newsletters as well to keep them abreast of the changes and new standards and things of that nature. So that concludes my presentation. Thanks for the opportunity to serve the city again. Y'all done a great job and looking good.
Great, thank you very much. That was a wonderful report. We really appreciate it.
All right.
Leslie, you had a question? Oh, no, green. She just likes the green. Yeah, no, we're in good shape. And you all have been great for us. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here.
All right, thank you all.
Mayor, hi, it's Emmy Niethammer. Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, you kind of sounded like that guy in, Willy Wonka when he went through the, portal and became really small.
Hold on, let's see if I can
Mike
fix
TV,
that.
yes, you sound like Mike TV.
Fine, if
You watch
go
a lot of
ahead.
cartoons, don't you?
That's not a cartoon. You don't watch Willy Wonka, do you?
That is true. Fair enough. It's been a while.
All right, Mike TV, are you
I
there?
just wanted to make sure, this item does not need to move forward. I don't believe that there's an action required on it. I just want to get confirmation from you.
Yes, ma'am, this item does not need to be moved forward. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Mike TV. All right, very good. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. All right, so the benefit renewal 2021.
Mr. Mayor, tonight we have Peachtree Benefits Group here to discuss our 2021 benefits renewal package.
All right. And they got the nice disinfectant spray. Because, you can't have your benefit group come up without disinfectant spray.
Can you hear me?
You sound much better than Mike TV.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for letting us be here. I'm Leah Shuford from Peachtree Benefit Group, and this is Rebecca Ritchie.
Hello.
From Peachtree Benefit Group as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. I do know that there's going to be a presentation, but everybody does have a booklet and then a folder with additional information and exhibits as well that you can refer back to. Okay, so this is a 2020 recap. Whenever we're talking about the next year, we want to look back and do a recap of the previous benefit renewal. So we're going to talk about medical, dental, and vision. So last year, we renewed with Cigna for just a 2.2% increase from the 2019 rates. And just as a reference point, these rates were still under the 2017 medical rates with Humana. We did make a couple of changes to the medical plan last year. One of the changes we did for both of the plans was add a 4th tier pharmacy co-insurance. That was to target specialty pharmacy spend. So we wanted to do this to decrease the continuous spend in the pharmacy, which is tier 4. So last year we'd added this co-insurance. So individuals would pay 25% of a specialty medication up to the $300. So we added that as a benefit to try and contain those specialty medicine costs. We also continued with the 3-year contribution strategy. So it was the 3rd year in that contribution strategy to increase the family contribution to match the employee-only contribution percentage. And then lastly, we maintained the $20 monthly wellness and physical exam credit and also maintained a $50 monthly tobacco surcharge. We, you can go back to the first one. So Then for medical, dental, and vision, we renewed dental and vision with Cigna as well. In the summer of 2020, so July 1st of 2020, we actually made the decision to move our ancillary from MetLife, and so these are life and disability, to Mutual of Omaha, because there were some issues with MetLife during this time, and we decided to move it on July 1st of 2020. So the life and disability lines we're not going to be talking about today because that's already settled through January 1st of 2022. Flexible spending accounts, last year we implemented, it was the first year of our flexible spending accounts. And just as a recap, an FSA, there's a medical FSA and a dependent care FSA. This is a pre-tax or a tax-advantaged account for employees to elect a certain amount every single year and then contribute to that account as pre-tax dollars. They have, the advantage of this is they have the opportunity to use these funds on day one. And so it is a benefit for the employee. And then through payroll, they contribute these funds back into the account. So that was year one of the FSA through a vendor called EBC. And then lastly, for wellness, last year we continued our second year using the vendor Vitality, which is a wellness program which awards wellness dollars for different activities through wellness. Next slide. So we'd like to talk about plan performance. So this is going to be a recap of the plan performance in 2020. So then we can really look at where we are for 2021 and why we're there. A loss ratio is a claims paid to premium paid ratio. Last year through, the data's a little bit lagged, but last year through January 2020, it was 84% versus 95.5 in 2019. So that is a trend we like to see, going from 95 loss ratio to 84% loss ratio. In summary, that just means that our claims are lower than our premium paid. So that is the way we like to see our claims ratio going. For high-cost claimants are individuals on the plan that have incurred more than $75,000 in a certain time period. And there were 4 over this threshold. However, now 3 of those 4 have terminated employment in 2020. And this is a good thing when you're looking at the plan as a whole, because that means those high-cost claimants aren't continuing to incur costs under the medical plan. So as a high-level overview of looking at the trend for medical and pharmacy from last year, so we noticed a big improvement in both the medical and RX, which is pharmacy spend. So generic dispensing went from 89.4% to 93.3%, which means more individuals are electing generic, which are tier 1 drugs. These are the less expensive drugs for employees, but also for the plan, than more expensive drugs such as tier 2 or tier 3. So this is improvement for both the plan and the members and employees, The average dollar per RX script went from 162 to 133. High level, this just means the plan is spending less on pharmacy per script than it was in the previous year. Again, another trend we like to see. And I think the best one out of all of these is the specialty pharmacy spend went down 20.5%. So that means that when we targeted the pharmacy RX benefit, when there was no pharmacy RX benefit in 2019, we added the 4th tier coinsurance in 2020. That really targeted pharmacy specialty spend by 20.5%, reducing those costs. So that just means some of the individuals that might have not known their drug was so expensive that are taking specialty medications might have moved to a tier 2 or tier 3 drug, which helped the entire plan cost. So the PMPY is per member per year cost, and you can see the trend for medical spend, RX spend, and then total is down from 2019. Okay, next slide. So when we're looking at the 2021 renewal summary, kind of want to backtrack and say the medical, obviously we have medical with Cigna, dental with Cigna, and vision with Cigna. We get a initial renewal, and that was around 3%. However, due to negotiations and marketing, we have negotiated the renewal down to a negative 3.54% from your current 2020 medical rate. So, I mean, we don't see that a lot. So this is a great improvement to have. So that is approximately 83,000. Can't really read it from here. I think it's 83,686. So that is direct savings to the bottom line to the medical rates for 2021. We were able to negotiate a rate hold for dental and vision, so there'll be no increases to the benefit rates for those plans. And then, as I mentioned before, your short-term disability, long-term disability, basic life, and voluntary life are under Mutual of Omaha, so those will not be changing until 2022. Just to note, again, your 2021 Cigna medical renewal is actually still below your 2017 Humana pricing by $227,000. So that's another key point to make, that's really impressive that the city has been able to contain the premium costs over 3 years.
Actually reduce.
Contain the premium costs over 3 years, yep. So included in the 2021 Cigna renewal, a wellness fund of $10,000 to use at the city's discretion for wellness, such as different programs, rewards, or incentives. A $25,000 technology fund, which can be used for Paycom or EDI, which are file feed services, or for payroll vendor services, and that's to use at your discretion as well. Cigna's offering a new wellness program called the Motivate Me Wellness Program, which we recommend to replace Vitality. Cigna's also offering a 6% rate cap for 2022. So next year in 2022, the dental cannot go up more than 6%. And there is a guaranteed 10% off of the April 2021 premium. So that's going to be an approximately $19,000 premium saving in April of 2021. Okay, next slide. The market summary. So when I say market summary, I'm talking about all the different carriers that we sent out for proposal. So United Healthcare, Humana, Aetna, and Anthem, which is formerly Blue Cross Blue Shield. Aetna declined to quote, and United Healthcare was not competitive. However, out of all of those, there were competitive proposals from Humana and Anthem. When we're looking at these different proposals and quotes, we did want to mirror plan designs as closely as possible, but there are some considerations to make when you are changing carriers or trying to match plan designs. So obviously, you move carriers, there's going to be a different provider network, formulary, and wellness benefits. There's also pharmacy authorizations that you have to do, step therapy approvals if you are changing plans, regardless of what carrier it is. These are considerations to make when you are moving carriers. Another consideration is Paycom charges EDI file feed charges when you have to provide, when you go to a new carrier, because when you're already set up with a carrier such as Cigna, these file feeds that are enrollments and terms, these go through weekly. However, if you have a new carrier, sometimes Paycom will charge to build those files. So these are all considerations when moving to a new carrier. So Humana offered a fully insured quote at 0.89 over the current Cigna rate. So if you can remember, the Cigna rates were actually below by 3.54%. Humana rates, dental rates were above by 10%, 10.15% above the current Cigna rates. The Humana vision rates were matching vision rates. However, the Humana proposal included a one-time premium bill credit of approximately $174,000. And the reason it's approximate is actually it's 1 month of the medical premium, and based on the current census, we estimated it to be $174,000. So that is where a chunk of the savings would come from Humana. On the next slide, there's going to be a side-by-side comparison to the bottom line. So we'll take a look at that. But if we go back, I do want to address the other competitive carrier, which is Anthem. So Anthem also offered a fully insured quote that was 2.5 below current rates for their medical rates. So again, offering a quote that has below medical rates for Anthem. So the dental is below 2.4%. I believe that's what it says. I can't really see it. So 2.4 below current, and then vision rates were matching with Anthem. Anthem also offered a one-time premium credit. However, that was $70,000. So not the same as Humana, but they're offering that one-time premium credit. Anthem also offers a rewards program for the wellness. Okay, the next one. Okay, so this is the market summary and has the Cigna current costs, the Cigna renewal, and then the market, which is the Humana and the Anthem, side by side. On the first line, the annual medical cost, you can actually see that the Cigna renewal is actually going to have the lowest medical cost spend. Humana is the highest, and then Anthem it has the highest medical rates as well.
And kind of to elaborate on that,
Yeah.
that top line is just the premium rates.
Yeah.
It does not account for any kind of premium credit or bill credit. So that's the rates that are used to create employee costs monthly in the city's basically rate or premium. So if you're looking at just that component of the three options, Cigna's actual rates are lowest.
Right, and we think this is really important to notice because we know that the city strategizes their contribution for employees on a percentage rather than a dollar amount. So if the actual medical rates are lower, then the employee rates are going to be lower as well. So that's just a side note there. For annual dental cost, Humana is actually, like what I said before, 10% over, so the employee cost would be over as well. If we want to go down to the fourth row, the one-time premium bill credit, the $19,000 for under the Cigna renewal is the April premium credit that Cigna has approved for 2021, and then the Humana is the $174,000 and Anthem is the $70,000. The technology fund, each carrier has quoted a technology fund. Cigna is $25,000, Humana and Anthem will only give $10,000 towards a technology fund. So that's where we got the total bottom line cost for the Cigna renewal, Humana, and Anthem. And so the percent change for Cigna renewal is a negative 5.11. So if you did nothing and just renewed with Cigna for all three, medical, dental, and vision, you actually have a reduction in the total cost for medical, dental, and vision lines by 5.11% for next year. Humana, because of the premium credit, $174, the savings is actually a little bit more at 6.04 below the renewal, below the current. And then Anthem is 5.73. So very similar to the Cigna renewal. However, there is some savings with the Humana and Anthem. We do recommend, and I'll go into the next slide, that staying with the Cigna is going to be more beneficial for the employees because of the contribution strategy and how that the contribution strategy will allow the employees to have a lower cost because it is by a percentage. Okay, so our 2021 summary of recommendations. So again, we do recommend renewing with Cigna for medical, dental, and vision with no plan design changes, again, because of the lowest premium and the extra technology funds that Cigna is providing. Continue the ancillary coverage with Mutual of Omaha. And we do recommend terminating the wellness program with Vitality because Cigna is offering a new program called Motivate Me that will be equivalent to the Vitality offering rewards for different activities at no cost to you or to the city. So continue to offer, or we recommend to continue to offer the FSA, which is a flexible spending account with EBC, but maintaining the $1375 maximum, which is under the IRS maximum of $2750, but this limits the city of Chamblee's liability if you only limit the amount that employees are able to contribute to $1375. So we recommend continuing to do that for 2021. Then we also are recommending to maintain all employee contributions for medical, dental, and vision coverages. There is on the next slide actually, but there is an exhibit that shows the contribution strategy. However, we do recommend not decreasing on the payroll stub or not decreasing the amounts that are taken out. However, if we do want to maintain the 10% as we did last year, since the premiums are going down, if you take 10% of the premium, the employee costs will go down. We actually don't recommend decreasing employee costs. We recommend holding the employee cost and then giving a premium credit or a premium holiday back to those employees to get it down to the overall 10%. However, keeping the pay stub or the contribution out of each pay stub the same. And then lastly, on the healthcare side, maintaining the surcharge, the tobacco surcharge, and then also maintaining the $20 monthly wellness credit for an annual physical. As I said before, maintaining the flexible spending account, we think this is a benefit for employees. I know we didn't have the participation we wanted to in year one, but we are recommending that now employees have an FSA debit card so they don't have to be manually reimbursed for funds that they spend. So this actually doesn't affect the city at all. There's no charge for this. Employees will just have a quicker access to their funds rather than having to manually reimburse. So we do recommend keeping the FSA for another year and just having employees have access to FSA debit cards for the medical FSA and dependent care FSA. And then, as I said before, continuing the $1375 as the maximum contribution to be able to limit the maximum liability to the city. And then I already touched base on this, but the contribution strategy, maintaining all employee contributions for medical, dental, and vision, however, giving a premium holiday to keep it at that 10%, which is what you all have planned to do in your strategy over the past 3 years. So you go to the next one, it'll actually show the strategy all the way in the 3 years from 2018, 2019, and 2020, and then for proposed 2021. So I know it says the 10.4, so to get it back down to the 10, that's where the premium credit or premium holiday to employees comes in, but we're just recommending not decreasing the actual contribution that comes out of payroll. And the next slide. So to sum everything up, the 2021 final recommendation, this is showing renewing medical, dental, and vision with Cigna. Mutual of Omaha is on a rate hold until 2022. So that's showing all of the lines of benefits here tonight. So then the April premium credit is about $19,000. The tech fund is $25,000. That's taken into consideration here. And so the total premium savings from 2020 through to 2021 is $127,779. And that's making no changes to your benefits at all. So we think that's a really great enhancement to keep going forward. That's a savings of about 5% from 2020. And I think, try one more, but I think that's the last one.
Very good. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Al, did you have anything to add?
No, sir, Mayor.
Okay, any questions?
I've got one quick one.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
is the thought behind keeping the premiums the same despite the reduced cost because the thought is the loss ratio is lower because of COVID being part of the study period? So if it goes up next year, we're not hitting people for more?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's exactly it.
Other questions?
I have a question. I don't quite understand the fourth tier RX coinsurance added. Explain that in very simple terms to me.
Okay, so in 2019, our plans had 3 copays when you get a drug: generic brand or preferred brand, non-preferred brand. Specialty drugs are very high cost, $3, $5, $10, $20,000 per script or month. So we added essentially a 4th copay for that very specific small group of drugs, so that a member, if they have a drug, they are responsible for 25% of the drug, up to a $300 maximum per script. So if it's a $10,000 drug, they are paying 25%, but capped at $300, so they pay $300. And the idea behind that is because those drugs are so high cost to the plan for the city, adding that to add more clarity for participants to understand the cost of those drugs. And if they don't need the drug, maybe they weren't aware because they were paying $50 for it, to kind of target some of that unnecessary plan spend. And we do think that that directly impacted the trends that we see on the specialty spend. So that was the change last year.
I do have one of those drugs, but I also have a credit card, whatever it is, with that particular specialty.
The copay card.
The copay
correct.
card. Now, is the city, how does that affect the city for me to have a copay card? Does that come out of the city's pocket then, or?
The remainder of the drug does, yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, ladies. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for all your hard
Thank you.
work on this. All right, moving right along, if I'm following along correctly. And I assume that does need to move forward on the agenda because we'll have to vote on that one. We have the Development Department. We already said earlier that the medical office and Zaxby's drive-through variance, we discussed that during the public hearing portion. We do have still under Development Department the Chamblee Sustainability Plan. Matt, are you anywhere near TV mic? Mike TV?
Yeah, you have it on. There should be a section here. Yes, Mayor and Council, we are very excited to present to you this evening the Chamblee Sustainability Plan. We do have Robert Reed from South Face, who is president. He's going to give a brief presentation to give you an overview of the plan. But this we would be asking you to move this forward for potential adoption of a resolution that would incorporate this into our comprehensive plan. And the intent of the plan would be to set us up when budget funding is available to move forward to the platinum designation, and just make general recommendations for the city's sustainability program. So Robert Reed, if you're available, if you wouldn't mind giving a brief presentation, that would be great. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, I'm Robert Reed with South Face. We were part of the planning team with TSW working on your comprehensive plan, and we'll talk about the sustainability plan, but I'm here to sort of continue the good news you've been getting this evening. You've been getting good news from your accountant, and you've been getting good news from your insurance agents. I'm going to give you good news from your planners as well. You know, you guys are positioning yourselves very well to be leaders in sustainability, and I'm going to sort of hit on that in a minute. As I said, we were pleased to be part of the TSW team working on your comprehensive plan, and we also had the key role of developing a sustainability plan, and that's what we're going to be talking about here this evening. As noted in your briefing paper, this plan will help Chamblee achieve platinum status from the Atlanta Regional Commission Green Communities Program. So you're going to be stepping up from that if enough of these initiatives get executed within this, and this plan itself is a piece of that step to a platinum status with the Green Communities Program. South Face, for those of you who don't know us, we're a nonprofit. We have been working for sustainable homes, workplaces, and communities since our founding in 1978. Our executive director, Dennis Creech, recently, he didn't like to say retired, but stepped away, and we have a new executive director, and we've been doing this for a very long time. And we've worked with dozens of regional and national communities on similar efforts. You may know some of our work through the Earthcraft program, with which we partner with the Greater Atlanta Home Builders on. So that's sort of our big brand name that people know about. But we also do lots of work. We did DeKalb County Sustainability Plan. We've worked all the way up to Williamson, West Virginia. And we have to say that we're very proud to say that the initiatives in this plan would put Chamblee at the forefront of sustainable communities in the region. And we really want to thank the Chamblee team, in particular Rebecca Kiefer, for pushing the boundaries of what Chamblee can achieve. It was good to sort of see your audit results as well, and know that you're going to have the sort of capacity to be able to achieve some of these things in this plan, and you're going to be a real leader regionally with that. So now on to some of the summary of the contents. We'll go to the land use section. Obviously, the comprehensive development plan requires a substantial addressing of land use issues, and you all have fought the good battle for interconnected transit served density, and that is a key sustainability issue. Obviously, you've been doing that for a long time. You sort of held the line on what's important in that. And in those past and present planning efforts are key. So since that sort of was taken care of already in the comp plan, our goal in the sustainability plan was to see how we could take that density and might be able to achieve other environmental benefits. So we really focused on sort of the urban heat island as a big opportunity that was identified by staff members and community members as being a big opportunity. Looking at cool roof strategies, you've got an awful lot of aging roofs in the city, and then also tree canopy that came from the citizens and from all the community meetings as well. So really addressing those elements inside the sustainability plan in the land use section. Next slide. On the transportation section, additionally, the comprehensive plan addresses this. All of your efforts towards all of the transportation could really be considered sustainable. In particular, there were already trails and transit and walkability improvements inside of the plan. So therefore the plan focuses on highlighting these sort of low energy options, really sort of pointing to sort of what those decisions and what those efforts do in sort of reducing your energy use inside of your transportation sector, which we'll talk about in a moment. Next slide on materials management. Chamblee's already active in materials management and really leading the community in a lot of ways. And the sustainability plan adds some additional efforts around that, ongoing outreach. But with Chamblee's ongoing development as a regional walkable urban place, you have a huge opportunity to impact sustainable materials management with a multifamily recycling requirement and a construction and demolition waste initiative. If you think of yourself as moving to these multi-story buildings, replacing a lot of your single-story industrial buildings, the construction and demolition opportunities inside of that are fairly large. And of course, within those multifamily buildings, mandating a recycling component and space and efforts there, you would be joining a lot of local governments who already do that, and be leading a lot of the smaller governments as well. On the next slide, on energy. Energy, of course, is your biggest opportunity to follow the mantra of thinking globally and acting locally. Regionally, efficiency efforts and technology in the last 40 years have led to relatively low increases in energy demand in the building sector, despite a burgeoning population. If you look at our sort of energy curve regionally, considering our population growth, our sort of per capita use is actually going down, and that's because of increased technology, increased energy efficiency efforts. Now, while we got some pushback from the staff on being a leader in energy codes, there are plenty of efficiency upgrades inside of the code work, and municipal building upgrades and community benchmarking are all efforts that will be leading on the efficiency side of the equation. And we'll be giving you really big impacts. Fleet electrification in particular was brought up, and this is if you're positioned for it, it is a well-supported initiative now. There is a lot of help in this on this front to be able to help you make sure you're doing it right and doing it well, and it makes it a lot easier. And so the transportation sector in particular in the United States currently has an unsustainable increase in energy demand, and for all the sort of obvious reasons. And so electrifications are more efficient, so there will be an operational cost benefit. But to be clear, electrification does not reduce overall emissions due to our current electricity fuel portfolio and delivery efficiency. But fleet electrification does set us up for gains as we shift to decentralized renewable energy generation that's sort of coming in the future. Next slide. On the water topic, addressing water is also a requirement of the comprehensive plan and the regional water plan in particular, the North Georgia Water Planning District. And that stays in the comp plan, but in the sustainability plan, we really focused on the sustainability aspects more around stormwater, in particular in reducing overall usage in the built environment. Because Chamblee is straddling an important ridgeline and has a disproportionate impact on two watersheds, Chamblee can multiply the benefits of its location with green infrastructure. And so working with DeKalb County to implement your own stormwater fee to fund installation of regional green infrastructure practices is one of the recommendations. And green infrastructure has many corollary benefits, not the least of which is beauty, as seen in this picture from Emory. It is really quite a sort of a shift around how we address stormwater going forward. It used to be that all the stormwater ponds were sort of put in the back and sort of hidden behind fences. Green infrastructure sort of as part of that can really sort of be a design element, and the ongoing maintenance that's required really sort of gives you a lot of corollary benefits. One of those being pollinators, which we'll talk about here in the food section on the next slide. As noted by Georgia Tech, as the noted Georgia Tech professor George Ramsey coined the phrase, the 3,000-mile carrot. And that was used to describe the unsustainability of our food systems. Your sustainability plan addresses this through introduction of urban agriculture typologies. By allowing certain food production models in certain zoning districts, we expand the opportunity for local foods. This is just a sort of a logical sort of acknowledgement that people like local food, and that the ability to have certain types of agricultural practices inside of different zoning districts creates minimal sort of impact and should be acknowledged. But obviously limiting, heavier impact things to more appropriate districts. And so further, to address the crisis of colony collapse disorder, sorry, let me start over again with that. Further, to address the crisis of colony collapse disorder among our pollinators, there is a set of pollinator protection policies that are proposed inside of the ordinance, or side of the plan as well. The real opportunity here is that there has been a lot of research on this, and the impacts are fairly well documented, and so we're able to a lot of national work on getting standardized pollinator policies in place. So that is something that was added as part of that. Now, all of this effort requires governance, which is our next slide, and we sort of talked about in that sort of work that we've done nationally, we've seen all sorts of models, and the real key to this is creating a sense of partnership among the people working in sustainability in your community, not to sort of have them counting on Chamblee to lead you have the understanding that it is a partnership, and that sort of leveraging of efforts is important, and so that's why a sustainability initiative is proposed, in which there is a coordinated effort between government and community groups. And eventually, a sustainability director role can grow out of an energy manager position. We sort of see the real opportunities if we find that local governments who haven't really been sort of paying too much attention to the energy can often fund an energy manager with the savings that they're going to find. And so having that position then potentially grow into a director of sustainability is a sort of a standard recommendation sort of with cities in your situation. And the key role for the sustainability director would be ongoing education outlined in the plan, sort of being responsible for that engagement, as well as sort of bringing more people into the tent, if you will. So that's it for the sort of the outline of the sustainability plan. Hopefully you consider that really good news, and we do ask that you adopt this plan. This is a great opportunity for y'all to sort of set a stake in the ground where you stand on this, and to bring Chamblee along as a regional leader in this. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. We appreciate that presentation. Al, does this need to move forward for any type of action on Tuesday evening?
Yes, sir.
We need to adopt the plan? Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much. We appreciate being here. All right, so moving right along, we've got like all sorts of like departments here with nothing underneath them, which is kind of COVID related as well, possibly. Tuesday evening, we'll have city attorney. We have a second read on the 3224 Caldwell Road rezoning. Mayor and council items. We do have Councilmember Mock brought forward a census outreach event, which he's going to tee up for us, but he has also informed me that he would like to see us take some form of action on this evening. So Brian, take it away, bud.
Yes, sir, Mayor. With the census count deadline quickly approaching, the city is currently at around a 51% success rate with getting our households counted, meaning we still have about 49% of our population that has not responded to the census count. This proposed event would be a collaborative effort between the Fundación Adelante Guatemala, Los Vecinos, and the city of Chamblee to provide a census outreach event specifically to our immigrant community on September the 19th. In short, the organizers would set up tents and banners at a location on Chamblee-Dunwoody Road, and volunteers would use tablets to help residents complete their census information. COVID rules would be followed with social distancing, and organizers would wear PPE. We are looking for the city to help get the word out, support through outreach and social media, and provide a police presence if it is needed. Due to the timeline of this event being next week and the need to provide proper media support, if it's the will of the council, I would move that we approve this evening.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Is there any discussion on this? Anyone care to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you. Whoop. Motion is second to approve what Brian has laid out as far as the census outreach event. Any other discussion? All those in favor? I see a bunch of green paddles. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. All right, so going back to the beginning of the meeting, we had a staff recognition for core value of innovation, and I believe that we have all of our participants here. So Al, I'll turn it back over to you, bud.
Yes, Mayor. Tonight we have two employees that we would like to recognize and present the Spotlight Award for their excellent contributions in the area of innovation, which is one of our 5 core values. They have gone above and beyond, and again, we would just like to take this time to recognize them. The first employee is Benny Requena. Benny took the initiative to find a different solution to procure sneeze guards for our city facilities. There were no materials in place during the time that we tried to source the materials, and the materials that we found were on back order, and even the prefabricated sneeze guards were unavailable. Benny quickly bolted into action, and he came up with his own design and concept of the sneeze guards that, the very sneeze guards that protect us today here at the Civic Center and City Hall and throughout the city. The quality of it, the work that he provided surpassed any of the pre-manufactured sneeze guards that we can find commercially. When staff returned to their offices and their workstations, they were very impressed with the customized sneeze guards that Benny installed. Again, had Benny not stepped into action and really began to think innovatively, I don't know what we really would have done. Benny is here tonight with his lovely family. I'm not sure if we would like to bring them forward or just to have them.
Well, we can. I don't know. Maybe you could hand them their award. I mean, normally we do a really cool photo op, and maybe, sometime we could bring them back and do a better, more opportune photo op.
Yes, sir. Okay, so the second employee that we have is Ms. Katie Sears. Katie Sears embraced the challenge of keeping people active and children engaged through a different type of programming during the coronavirus. Programs such as the 31 and 31 Challenge virtual walk run were competitions against other cities, Tucker, Brookhaven, and Dunwoody, to see what could get the most registrants. Of course, that's very difficult to get any level of participation, especially during COVID, when all of the other local governments were really scrambling to figure out how to make day-to-day operations work. And again, Katie really thought outside of the issues that we were dealing with, and in addition to her daily duties, and she began to, again, think innovatively. Katie also created the Chamblee Parks and Recreation Activity Books with mazes, puzzles, and word searches that are released bi-weekly. She also took the virtual stage and taught an online Zoom hunt where we pre-registered kids where they were joined online for an hour of show and tell from their homes, as well as running a whodunit scavenger hunt where participants found clues in the parks to solve a mystery. I can tell you, as a parent of a 9-year-old, an hour of time away from your kid is invaluable. So again, we would just like to recognize these two employees for their exceptional contributions. We have a plaque and a challenge coin, which...
I mean, I can go ahead and hand it if they're comfortable with coming up, but I just don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Go ahead, Max, on. We'll kind of... Come on up. Come on up here, and we'll just kind of socially distance, and I'll let you do it. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you all so much. Thank you very much. We didn't have to have them, but it's all. Y'all know, for the wonderful crowd we have here this evening. Oh, I'm about to knock it over though. Hey, just thought I'd bring a little bit more attention.
Benny, we need you.
Yeah, Benny. Just thought I'd bring a little bit more attention to it. No, I think we got it there. We're good. But just thank you again. We're just so blessed in this city. I've been here way too long, and but throughout the entire time, we've just been very blessed to have awesome employees. And these two awards, we're very glad to be able to pass those out to y'all tonight. So again, on behalf of everybody in the city, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you did. All right. So, Brian, we took care of yours, took care of that. Is there any citizen comment? Really don't think so. Do we have an executive session this evening, Al?
No, sir.
God bless you, brother. All right. We're out of here.